Hey BiabBrewers, today we're going to be brewing a wheat ale from a brewery called Bell's Brewery in Kalamazoo, Michigan. It's a very famous beer, at least here in Michigan. It's called Bell's Oberon. It's a summer classic, and we're brewing it in the fall. Why are we doing this in the fall? Well, we happened to be in Kalamazoo about 8 days ago when it was 72 and sunny that day. Today it is 28 degrees, windy, and there's snow all over the ground here. And we're not too far from Kalamazoo. While we were there, one of our favorites is, of course, Oberon. We found in their shop they had there that they have a all-grain kit for Bell's Oberon for a great price. It's their clone series. So we decided, heck, let's try it. But why would we brew it this time of year? Well, because while we were there on tap, they actually had, and I had to bring some, they actually had a Mango Habanero version of Oberon on tap this time of year in November. So we were pretty excited. Figured it came in at 5.8%. So we figured, heck, let's try that. So the plan was, of course, to brew it outside, but of course it's too cold, and I decided I'm going to do one inside. I've done these before. We did Jamil's Evil Twin on Stovetop. You can see that video. I'll post a link to it. It takes longer inside for sure, but actually the temps are easier, obviously, to maintain. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So we're getting excited and we're going to get started. So here are some of the ingredients that come in the kit. The yeast is separate. You can use dry yeast. I don't remember which one they specified, but I can put a link to the recipe there. But of course you want to use their house yeast for sure, because I know that has a big part of the flavor of this brew here. And you also get to, when you get the kit, it has the grains already in it. They send you to the back, you get to crush them yourself. So I double crushed them there. And it was pretty easy to do and fun. Okay, when you're ready to go, just go to our website if you don't have a calculator and calculate your water requirements and get the kettle filled up. This is showing I need 7.9 gallons of water, so we're going to get started. And once it's there, we need to begin heating the strike water to 156.5 degrees. Okay, our strike water is ready. Let's get our bag in. Flips on. Throw all the clumps out. Okay. Up. And get our timer set for 90. And get going. Okay, the 90-minute mash is complete. Then you go to stir. We've been stirring it periodically, and I've just fired up the burner, and we're going to bring it up to 170 for a mash out for 10 minutes. Okay, our mash out is complete. I'm gonna give it a quick stir here, and then we will pull the bag. Definitely not easy in here to do this. The bag's been pulled. Let's give this a quick stir. Fired up the kettle already. Let me take my first sample out. And we'll let this cool down and see where it's at. And we're going to get it up to boiling temp, and we're going to do a 90-minute. Close to the hot break, not there yet. We are boiling. Okay, time for our first top ignition. This is going to be at 60. Okay, it's time for our next top edition. This is at 30. The last one is going to be at flame out. Okay, it's time to sanitize our chiller. Over the last 10 minutes here. And we're going to also clean the lid and sanitize that as well. Okay, we're at flame out. We've got our last top edition, which is going to be 2 ounces. This is called the hop stand, and they didn't really specify how long to do it. So just from what I know about the way the beer is, I'm assuming it's just aroma, so I'm going to do it for 15 minutes. So basically I'm just going to drop it in here for 15 minutes, and then we'll continue to start the cooling process. Okay, we moved the kettle away from the stove, put on a little stain here, and I've got my wort chiller in there. When I do brew inside, which isn't often, but when I do, I have this little adapter for our sink that I bought, so that I can adapt a hose to it. And that's it. So I will let this run for a while. I mean, everything, of course, is getting sanitized at this point. We'll spray everything down and catch up in a few before we pitch. Okay, we're all cooled down to 70.1, so we're good. I think we needed to be between 60, 65 and like 72 or something like that. So we're at 70.1, so we're good to go. Everything has been sanitized. Don't forget to sanitize, everything. So it's all been sanitized. We'll aerate too while we're doing it. There we go. These silicone hoses are great for aerating. We are just at our 5-gallon mark, which is a little tight. All right, here's our yeast. This one specifically tells you to store cold and open cold. You're not supposed to pull it out early, or even read online just from their site. I almost pulled it out early. You do not do that. I've already been shaking this and kneading it, getting it ready. Okay, this is how it's ending for the night. I usually just use a large blow off just because I've had issues in the past. I doubt I'll have them today, but why not? So there's just sanitizer in there, big tube in there, everything's sanitized. We'll let it sit for 24 hours because I'll need to put it in my thermal well and dual stopper so that I can put my heater on, because we're definitely going to be needing it this time of year. So that's how it looks. That's where we set it our volume, so not too bad. Temperature wise, per this is, you know, right where it needs to be for fermentation. Everything's looking good already. So here we go. Okay, this is about 13 hours later, so things are moving along. Our temp for now. Okay, here we are at about 27 hours. Everything is looking really good. It's pretty cold outside here, but it's still, temps look good in there. I'm not putting it on the heater yet. But yeah, everything's moving real nicely. Some good bubbling. I'm real happy with it so far. So we're at about 36 hours later. It's gonna be warming up around here. It was like 28 degrees outside last night, and it's supposed to be around 40 today. So things are starting to rise here, but I covered this guy up, had him covered in a towel, this blanket, and a sleeping bag. And so it's, you know, pushing it. It's supposed to be no higher than 72. So, and that's about where it's at, maybe a touch over. But I'm gonna pull something off here just to make sure it doesn't get too warm. Okay, we're getting ready to put the thermal well in here. I've sanitized that already. And sanitizing everything around here. Got sanitizer in my airlock. And I've already sanitized all this, but not really taking any chances with it. Okay, the only downside of this is I have to pop this up to get this probe inside, so it won't go down. There we go. That's our set point, 1 degree differential. And we wanted to heat. So right now we're seeing our temperatures actually pretty warm in there, 73 degrees. So it's a little warm. So the way that it works is that's plugged into here, this controller. I have a video, I think, on how I made this. You can check it out on the website. And it goes to this copper ton heating element. And then again, that thermal well goes all the way down the side, dual stopper. And what we'll do is we'll just put a towel on it to cover it from protect it from light, of course, and also to just kind of keep it insulated. Now it's starting to warm up here. We brewed, it was 26 or 28 degrees outside. It's going to be starting to hit the mid 40s around here, so things are changing. I may not even need the heater at all, at least not currently during fermentation. So, but it'll be ready to go. So after doing a lot of research on what I was going to use for the mango and even the habanero, really the habanero I was going to use fresh, but I guess from a replication standpoint, it'd be easier to have something that I can measure off. So after doing some research, this particular product seemed to be the best out there. Certainly wasn't that inexpensive either, but if you bought with some coupons and got some free shipping, it wasn't too bad. And you can use this for multiple things. This can get put directly into a glass of beer. You can just put it in beer, pour beer in there and drink it. You can use it for anything really. So I ended up getting each one. They've got their own directions. They said to follow them pretty carefully as to how much to use. It's 1 to 3 fluid ounces per gallon is what they're suggesting, somewhere in that area. The original version of this beer there really wasn't a lot of mango flavor in it, but it had a lot of heat. When the beer warmed up, you could get a little bit more of the mango out of it, but it wasn't as sweet as I probably would have wanted it to be, I guess, for something like this, especially in this colder time of year. So I'm going to make it a little bit sweeter, I'm hoping, and maybe pull back the heat just a little bit. Not a lot, but a bit. So I decided to go for it with both of these. So they got the habanero and the crab puree mango. So I'm just going to, I could not, of course, find the beer in season around here. So I'm just going to use a pretty agnostic type beer and just use that just to get an idea of maybe how much I should be mixing. So I'm trying to figure out the scaling and kind of going to rough this out and see what I come up with. Okay, this can be somewhat rough, but I took 1 can of beer, poured half of it roughly into here, and basically 1 pump of these is about 8 milliliters. So half of a pump obviously is 4 milliliters. Since I'm using half of my can of beer, so that's for a 12 ounces, I'm going to be going, instead of 8 millimeters for a full, I'll be using 4, or instead of 4 millimeters for a half strength, I'm going to use 2 milliliters. And that ends up being, so a half of a teaspoon is about 2.5 milliliters. So I'm going to do my best to measure off about that. It's definitely got a mango smell. It's got a fair amount of heat right there. So after a few different tries and actually using a different beer, because the other one it tasted terrible, I thought, I've decided to go to half the recommended, or the midway point of the mango, and on the low side of the habanero. If I go with the halfway point on the habanero, it's about the way it was over at Bell's. I'd say theirs was about that hot. This still has plenty of heat. I think the mango right in here had kind of a funny taste, and I didn't really love the way it smelled. My wife seemed to think it was fine. I think half will be fine, and I think if it's sitting in the keg, it's going to probably meld in there a little bit better anyways. So that's what the plan's going to be. So I'm going to figure that out. Okay, so in the end, we're going to end up with 10 fluid ounces of the mango going into 5 gallons, and we're going to do 5 fluid ounces of the habanero going in. So it's been about 12 days. I should have done this within about 5, 7 probably, but we're going to go ahead and add our mango and our habanero. So I'm going to decided to go ahead and put it into a secondary, partially because it's a 6 gallon carboy and the others are 5, and it's going to sit for a while probably before I have time again. I was really behind this time as well, so I think it'll be safer just to move it. So that's what the plan is now. Got everything pretty much sanitized, just about done with that, and we're going to get ready to get the transfer going. All right, we're going to grab a sample here real quick. Okay, the little sample we pulled tasted pretty good. Our target was 1.012. We came in at 1.016. Obviously things are going to change when we add our puree, which is what we're going to do now. And everything's been sanitized 1,000 times. Okay. We'll just do a little bit of a mixed. So here we are about 11 hours later, and we've got some activities picking back up. Okay, it's been 16 days since we transferred to the secondary, added the mango and habanero purees, and this needs to be moved off to the keg, which is all sanitized and ready, and we're going to cold crash it, and then we'll carbonate it and be ready to go for Christmas time. So I'm gonna get ready to get the transfer going. Okay, let's get our gravity reading. I can smell the mango. Wow. And habanero. If you've seen in videos in the past, I put these little door stoppers there to kind of tilt the carboy back a little bit, so it's a little bit easier to draw everything out. All transferred. Looks pretty good. We got just under 5 gallons. Okay, we're gonna clear the headspace. Little forced carbonation. So how do we do on the beer? I think it came out real good. Color's good, it tastes great. Very popular. I think it had a little bit more heat than I expected. It just hits you in the back of the throat though. It's not like your mouth's hot. It hits you in the back of the throat. You can feel it going down. It's pretty nice on a cold day. I did some experimenting, adding a little bit more mango and different things just to try to see if I could calm it down a bit. And really the best thing I could find was just hitting the keg with a little bit more of the mango puree, just to kind of tone it down a little. It didn't do a whole lot to it, but it had a bit of sweetness to it. But everyone was happy. I mean, we're way under 3 gallons left, and it's just the beginning of January now. So it's been taking me time to actually make this video, but we've been going through it pretty quick. The final ABV was 5.8, right where it needed to be. That's exactly what it was supposed to be. Our target gravity on the brew was 1.016. We were at 1.014, so that's pretty good. Overall, I think it was a good beer. I think I would probably, I don't know what I would hit it with a little bit more sweetness up front and maybe a little less heat, or just a little less heat. The sweetness wasn't bad. Adding it to the keg after, it tastes good. I mean, it definitely, when I first was trying it by the glass, when I was testing it, it really, the mango really wasn't doing it for me. But after it fermented a bit, it did make a difference. We did actually see a bump up in ABV. I did a test on that before I added the purees to it. We were at 5.51%. and we're at 1.016. So it did make a bit of a difference after fermented a bit. Adding it directly to the keg was fine. We did some tests where I added it right to the glass, and actually it wasn't bad. That's when it really calmed it down, but you're using quite a bit of the puree, and that stuff's pretty expensive. So I didn't think that was the best way to use it. So that's why I doused the keg with a little bit more. I did about 6.5 ounces more of mango to about 3.4 gallons at the time. And it's good. I'm not messing with it anymore. I'm happy with it, and so far everyone who's tried it's been happy with it as well. So we'll give this one another try, I think, see if I can dial the flavors in a bit. But overall, I think it was a winner, and I'm excited. Cheers.